I'm set to marry someone I don't love. I'm a twin, and my sister was always the prodigal child, though she never showed any remorse. Now, I'm paying for her mistakes. My parents control my life, afraid I might turn out like her. We came from a decent family and had everything we needed, but my sister was never satisfied. She thought I had more privileges, which seemed ridiculous to me because we received the same things. She saw us as competitors, always trying to outdo me or take what was mine. My parents' favour seemed to lean towards me, but it was only because she was so ungrateful and unhappy. Her actions made it clear that I was the favourite, not because of their preference, but because she was so difficult. Eventually, she stole a large sum of money and ran away. My father knew where she went, but decided to let her go, tired of trying to make her behave. Her departure had a huge impact. My freedom was taken away because my parents blamed our previous liberties for her behaviour. The day she left was the last time I had any say in my own life. I tried to behave as they wanted, thinking I was the one who had to make up for her mistakes. My friends, my activities, even my university course were chosen by my parents. This only made me resent my sister more. I wished she'd return so I could reclaim my life. The things I used to enjoy were now off limits, and it felt so unfair to suffer because of her mistakes. My parents introduced me to a man they thought I should marry. We didn't click romantically, but could pass as friends. It wasn't a traditional arranged marriage, more like casual matchmaking. He was attracted to me, and my parents thought he'd be good for me. I didn't know how to refuse them. After years of doing what my parents wanted, it was easier to just go along with things. I wasn't happy, but my wedding day was approaching fast. We had planned a court wedding since I didn't want any big ceremony. I wasn't excited about getting married, so we arranged a small reception for our families and closest friends. I wasn't proud of not standing up for what I wanted, so I chose not to announce the wedding publicly with a grand ceremony. I was running a bit late to the courthouse when I saw my twin sister with my fiancé. To my shock, she had taken my place and was marrying him instead. She probably thought she was hurting me, but she had actually saved me from a situation I wasn't happy about. I was thrilled not to be getting married. No one expected her to show up at my wedding, so they likely didn't suspect anything. I stayed hidden until everything was legally finalised and then went to the reception. Everyone was stunned when they saw me. My parents, who knew me best, quickly figured out what had happened. Before they could say anything, I asked to speak. I thanked my sister for showing me that I didn't truly want to get married just to please my parents. I apologised to my fiancé for dragging him into this drama and explained that my feelings had nothing to do with him personally, but because I wasn't in love with him. My sister's face was filled with disappointment as she realised she hadn't ruined my life, but rather helped me avoid an unhappy future. My parents were extremely disappointed, and they couldn't believe my sister would do something like this. They were even considering legal action for impersonation. I stopped them from calling the police because my sister had just freed me from a marriage I didn't want. It was chaotic, but a huge relief. My mum asked why I hadn't been honest about my feelings on the marriage. I told her they had controlled my life ever since my sister disappointed them, making me feel like I was being punished because of her. I didn't think they would let me back out if I told them I didn't want to get married. I felt awful for misleading my fiancé. He wasn't forced into this. He genuinely liked me. I thought it was better for him to know the truth and avoid an unhappy marriage. So the next day, my fiancé and sister announced their marriage. My parents told her to leave and never return. She had left once before on her own, and when she came back, she caused even more trouble. My parents were embarrassed and sad, but I finally felt free. My sister didn't realise that her stunt would actually help me. If she knew how much I didn't want to get married, she wouldn't have disrupted the wedding. She must have seen my upcoming marriage as the perfect chance to hurt me, even though she had moved back to the city just for this. I've always wondered what I did to her and why she hated me so much. As identical twins, we were supposed to be close, but we never were, even when we were young. Despite everything she did, she continued to treat me poorly. That's when I decided it was better to see myself as an only child. My sister would never be the family member we wanted her to be. I used to hope she'd come back, and we'd live happily ever after. But that felt like a fairy tale, and it didn't seem likely for me. Now, I'm focusing on discovering myself and what I truly want. I refuse to go back to being the girl who only did what her parents wanted out of fear of disappointing them. I'm also giving my ex some space. I don't expect us to automatically become friends, and I hope he can forgive me. If he doesn't want anything to do with me, I'll understand. I needed a break, something spontaneous with no parental input. So I decided to travel. I didn't know where yet, but I was excited. At first, I was anxious, but I pushed myself out of my comfort zone, and it was just what I needed. My parents are starting to understand that they need to loosen their grip and let me grow. It's too late to become like my sister. I didn't make drastic changes. I stuck with my career path, which, even though it was their choice, I actually loved. The real changes were internal. During my trip, I discovered myself and what I liked, rather than just trying to be the opposite of my twin. I didn't realize how much pressure I felt to always say and do the right things. I often kept my opinions to myself, even when I disagreed. I asked to meet my ex 6 months after our planned wedding, and I was grateful he agreed. It was great to reconnect and laugh about everything that happened while I was away. I always felt bad for hurting someone and really wanted to make amends if he'd let me. Besides being my fiancé, he was actually my friend, so I was glad to have him back, even though we weren't getting married. He's ready to start dating again, and I hope he finds someone who truly appreciates him. As for me, I'm in no rush. I want to enjoy my own space and explore my newfound freedom. I don't hate my sister. In fact, she unintentionally helped me, though my parents want nothing to do with her. I've tried to reach out, but she doesn't want to talk to me either. I can manage without her, as that's what I've always done. I think your sister played herself, and maybe what she did was necessary for you to escape your fiancé. I do feel for him, though. I wonder if she knew you didn't want to be married and deliberately took your place to stop you. It's worth talking to her to find out for sure. Some background. My mum passed away when I was 8. After her death, my dad and I discovered she was much wealthier than we thought. She had set up an education fund that covered my private schooling, college, and grad school. I went to private school with a partial scholarship and college with a full one. I used some of the fund for grad school, but there was still money left over for future kids. Currently, my 17-year-old biological daughter, Serafina, attended private high school and recently got into a good college with a partial scholarship. She wants to go to medical school, and if she can get a partial scholarship there too, I'm happy to help her out so she has minimal debt. We're both grateful for this opportunity. I also have a stepson, Thorn, 18, who is starting college this fall. He went to a local public school as he didn't get into the same high school as Serafina. Despite that, he's an excellent student and athlete, earning a partial scholarship to his top choice college. I'm incredibly proud of both my children. My husband and I, married for 3 years, planned our finances and parenting carefully. We keep most of the money separate regarding the kids. We contribute to gifts and other expenses, but we handle cars, college, and similar costs individually. It's worked well so far. Both Serafina and Thorn have cars they paid for themselves, with me matching Serafina's savings and my husband matching Thorn's. For college, we had agreed that my husband would handle Thorne's expenses and I would cover Seraphina's. However, my husband thinks it's unfair that Seraphina will graduate debt-free while Thorne will have debt. He's calling both of us spoiled and entitled for not sharing the money more evenly. My mother-in-law also visited and said I was being unfair and that I should help Thorne out, implying that I love him less. I explained that this was the agreement my husband and I made, and his problem now is that Seraphina will be better off financially. Both my mother-in-law and husband are now giving Seraphina and me the silent treatment. As for Thorne, his mother left years ago, and neither he nor my husband is in contact with her. Seraphina's father passed away soon after she was born. Thorne is handling the situation well, though. He's asking his grandmother and dad to drop the issue and is being very considerate towards Seraphina and me. It seems like my husband is unhappy that his biological son isn't doing as well as my biological daughter. My wife and I, 28 and 26 respectively, have been married for over 2 years. Both of us have promising careers but aren't making a lot of money yet. We've been living paycheck to paycheck and have been using an old mattress and box springs inherited from a family member. The mattress, in particular, has had a bad spring that constantly dug into my side and lower back. We both agreed that we needed a new mattress, so a couple of weeks ago I went back home for my cousin's wedding. My wife couldn't come because of work. When I got home, she told me to check out the bedroom. I found a new mattress and adjustable frame wrapped in a red ribbon. She excitedly told me that she had been saving from her paychecks to buy it for us. While she was thrilled, I wasn't happy. I told her that a mattress is a major purchase and that we should have decided on it together to make sure it was something we both liked. She was disappointed and felt hurt, saying she wanted to surprise me with something nice that we needed. She thought I'd be happy since I didn't have to spend any money, but I believe a major purchase like this should have been discussed first, even if she used her own money. I did something similar once, thinking I was making my first husband happy, but his reaction was the same as mine now. That was the last time I did anything like that. My second husband and I just celebrated 17 years together. I've noticed that often women treat their partners how they want to be treated, but in the end they tend to treat them how they are treated. I think it's reasonable to want to discuss a significant purchase, especially when it's something both will use. Just because it's a major expense doesn't mean it shouldn't be talked about. Your wife did you both a favour by saving up and paying in cash, which didn't impact your finances. It's not right to act like a victim in this situation. Rather than being ungrateful, it would have been better to thank her, try out the mattress, and discuss any issues afterwards. You both had been researching mattresses, so she likely made an informed choice based on what you had already discussed.